Welcome to Determined to Succeed. I'm your host, Dawn Mullarney, also known as the Unique Connector. So I'm so excited to have Kelly on the show today. And I want to kick it off of Kelly, how are you getting in front of the ideal people? Or how are you getting in front of such big names and collaborating with them? So let's kind of dive into that, Kelly.
Yes, thank you, Dawn, for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I will say this, yeah, I've definitely gotten in front of different types of people, and I think it's different in every way. Like, number one, I always serve first. So I remember, asking a couple of people when I used to have an interview podcast, like I really want to interview them. And I was like, okay, how am I going to get into their world? How am I going to even, ask before if no one knows me, right? So I would get into these people's worlds by serving first and saying, okay, doing a little bit of FBI, stalking work and saying, okay, what are these people up to? What do they need? What would help them? And for some of these people, they didn't really need anything. It didn't seem like on the outside or social media or anything. But what I found is everyone is wanting something. Everyone either has, sometimes the bigger names are associated with charities. Sometimes they're launching a new product or service. So you never know what they're up to. So I would say, number one, do your research, do your homework, become like an FBI agent stalker of these people and see where you can serve, like see where you can help. Because sometimes it is just those types of things, whether maybe they have a book launch coming up and maybe you could be part of their book launch team, or if they have a charity they're really passionate about, maybe you can donate or maybe share it with your community. So finding kind of your way in. And I would say the second thing that really helped me too was following up. I remember this one person I asked, oh my gosh, I asked them to be a guest on the podcast, I think like 25 times. And I was like, okay, I'm going to follow up with you like again in 6 months, and like just staying with that process. And I don't think people follow up, like they may follow up once or twice or 3 times and just leave it. But really, I mean, that whole cliche saying of the fortune is in the follow-up, it really is. Like when someone sees you're determined and not to be like overly bearing on it, but also asking permission, when can I follow up? But really the fortune is in the follow-up. I can tell you so many different times where I'm like, thank God I followed up for the 7th time. So I would say those 2 things have really helped me get in front of people. And then also, if you can, it depends on who you want to get in front of, but getting in the same rooms, like going to conferences, going to, maybe they have their events or maybe they have charity events that they show up at. So really getting in the rooms, because when you're in the rooms with even dynamic people, money begets money, opportunities beget opportunities, media begets media. So these types of people also hang out with different types of people. I got invited to like an art gallery show, and I went because I was like, oh, I wonder who's going to be here, right? So it's just also taking those invitations, getting in the room, and just being like unapologetic about what you're doing.
Ooh, so many nuggets in there of just to like serving people first. I love that because, you need to give and it's not always about receiving. And I love too that you're thinking bigger and outside the picture of opportunities, where I always like to say like connections are like spider webs because you don't know who is connected to who. And so, I love that you are thinking outside the box, but to doing kind of the basics, follow up, building a relationship, and seeing what opportunities there are. And so, too, I love that sometimes we don't always know where people are stuck and they don't always know what help or services they're looking for, or resources. And so, for you, as you've kind of too developed your different services, I love how you kind of do multiple things, and you're kind of similar to me too, where it's like we have all these different skills and strengths. And so this is for, maybe a different topic of just, you didn't exactly just niche down to just only do speaking, like you're doing multiple things. So talk to me about that when you were developing your business and seeing what opportunities were out there.
Yeah, I really followed, my feeling. I remember, and I think I shared this in a social media post, where I had a podcast and I was starting my coaching business. And I had one mentor and coach say to me, really, you got to get rid of the podcast. You got to focus on one thing. And while there is truth in that, and the whole conversation of do I niche down, do I not niche down, there's different perspectives on it. However, I knew with the podcast, I was like, no, I want to really do the podcast. Like I can do both. Like I can do, and I just had this like such this pull to the podcast of like, I just want to keep doing the pod. I don't want to choose. Like I didn't get into entrepreneurship to just choose and be in this box, right? So I was like, no, I'm not getting rid of the podcast. And now, right, my podcast, I mean, it takes different shapes and forms, but over the years, I mean, it's listened to over 20 countries, and it's grown, now it's not grown in huge amounts. Like I don't have 10 million downloads. However, we will get there. And it's like, I think it's with people like following the feeling, but also there is something real to having too many things going on because it is split energy. And so you just have to work with like who you are as a person, I mean, some people really do need that one thing to focus. And some people can say, I can have three things and I can do the thing. However, with the podcast, I will say I wasn't putting like so much energy and effort into it. Like it was just a fun thing. And that's why I kept it. Cause I was like, it takes me, half hour every week. Like it's not a big deal. And it's not really taking away from the coaching business. It's actually, and speaking business, it's actually helping it. And so throughout the years, I've gotten clients, I've gotten speaking events because of the podcast. So I would just, invite people to really tune in and use discernment, because there's going to be coaches and mentors and people giving their opinions. And yes, maybe some of them are where you want to be. However, it's like always listening to your own, instinct, your gut reaction, and also using discernment and then you'll see. And I always like to tell people, experiment with it for 90 days or 6 months and really see, like, is your energy getting too pulled? Is it maybe taking away profitability in another area of your life? And this is with anything. It doesn't have to do with business. Like, where is it taking your energy, or I like to call like leaky energy or boundaries? Like, is it taking away from? But always use your discernment, and because you are your own best guidance system. The coaches, the mentors I am a coach and a mentor. So, but it's like, we're guiding people, but really everyone knows the answers, like within, we're just helping them like see the blind spot, maybe ask questions in a different way to make the person think. But at the end of the day, we're not in your body. We're not living your life. So.
Yeah. And that's where some people are like, why would you spend time doing the podcast? And for me, it fills my cup up, but also too, it's been almost another checkbox to show that, oh wait, Dawn really is doing a business here. She's not just having fun. And, it kind of has helped that, but also has boosted my confidence of like why I'm trying to be out there and meet new people. And that's where even too, like the two of us met randomly from another connection. And that's where I feel like you just don't know what opportunities are out there, or two, it helps give you a different perspective, which is why coaching can be really helpful for people. It's not just your magic pill to give you the solution, but it's to help you, hone in, get a different perspective, have somebody there to validate you and support you. And so, and sorry if you can hear the thunder and lightning through this conversation, it's pouring here, but, Kelly, this is where even too, for you, has there been some kind of pivotal moment in your life that has really motivated you and pushed you to keep leaning into what is your greatness is and your strengths?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a couple of times. I guess I'll share like two. One is when I was in corporate and building the coaching and speaking business, I landed in the hospital from burnout. So I had like mental, emotional, physical burnout. And I wasn't taking care of myself. And I was doing two very high impact things. And so I really needed to listen to my body. And I was teaching about self-care and all. I was like, oh my gosh, Kelly, you're a hypocrite. But I really need to go to that place. And, the universe only gives you lessons that you can master and really then teach. So I would say that was a pivotal point, because then I realized and made the decision, okay, something needs to shift. I'm giving way too much to both of these areas of my life, and I get to make a decision. So that was one. And I knew I didn't want to be in corporate for the rest of my life. I always had this pull of like, going to be doing something of my own. So yeah, it was scary, but it was like, I can't keep going on like this. And a pivotal question that really helped me, and I stayed in corporate for a while. I mean, I could have left way sooner than I did. And a question that really helped me with that was, if I'm in the same place a year from now, how am I going to feel? And I remember one day when I asked myself that question, I think for like the 100th time, I was like, I will poke my eyes out. If a year from now I am in the same space that I am now, that I keep promising myself that I'm not going to be. And that's when I really decided. It was just like a full body. So sometimes your time, everyone's timing is different. So, and the hospital really, that hospital experience really helped with that as well. And I will say the other thing that really, that really fuels my fire is when I do look at quote unquote, and I know there's the saying of there's no competition or there's that, but I look at, where I'm always innovating. I'm always looking at, different ways that people are doing things, learning from them. But then sometimes I get disturbed or that trigger comes up and I'm like, oh no, like, and I use that, and I don't use that to make myself feel bad. It's like, okay, I'm going to fuel that feeling into not like, oh, I'm going to do it even better, but kind of, right? So it's like fueling that energy of being like, oh no, like what is my brilliance? Like what am I not fully expressing or fully showing? And so I utilize that energy of, if he or she is doing something, or maybe I didn't get quote unquote picked or chosen, which is not true, but it's like, okay, how can I really utilize that energy to my benefit? And really, it's motivation and it's inspiration. It's like my why. And I always say, like, have a why that makes you cry, but also what also makes me cry is at the end of your life, right? At the end of your life, you haven't done what you always wanted to do, or, creator, God, divine intelligence, whoever you believe in, ask you, what happened? Like what happened? Why didn't you do X, Y, and Z? Right? Like, what are you going to say? So it's that conversation of, and I know I'm like talking about death and it's a little bit morbid, but it's true, right? Like we don't know when our time is up, and like, why are we waiting? Like, and that's why I tell myself, like, why am I waiting for certain things? It's like, Kelly, get your butt moving. Like you have things to do, you have people to serve. So that always motivates me. And then I take the people that I'm seeing, oh, I want to do X, Y, and Z, or, oh, they might be doing it better or be further along. I utilize that for my own, source of motivation and inspiration too.
And I think that's a great reminder to us too, that we're all human. Sometimes we learn from experiences that aren't always so wonderful, and we don't ever want to get into certain situations, but that's how we kind of master things. And two, sometimes having other people, kind of almost on your toes, it motivates you, inspires you, but also sometimes it can sabotage us also. So I love that you're giving kind of these different perspectives, but also to just how you're not giving up, because I think that's for even me too, of when working in wealth management and working in with trusts and estates, it was always talking about death and how
Yeah.
morbid that was. But it kind of opened my eyes too, of like, what legacy do I want to leave behind for my family? You know, it's not just about money is, the one thing, of course, working in wealth management, it was always about money. But for me, it's not. It's how I want people to think of me, or how I impacted my family, and, how my son and my husband will be taken care of. That's kind of the one thing that I hope for is to have those different connections of resources and people. And so for you, what do you see even the future of your business? What do you see it evolving, changing? What's driving you right now that you're just loving?
Yeah, I mean, my business changes. I feel like every year, because I evolve, right? As I grow and I evolve, and yeah, I'm very passionate about making impacts for like the next generations to come. So whatever form that takes, and I'm very like open about it, like of being like, okay, universe, God, divine intelligence, use me, like show me what I need to be doing or show me the next step. So I'm always listening and I'm always creating. So coaching and speaking is always going to be a part of that. And but it's like I know my core, right? Of okay, I want to make an impact and I am making an impact for the next generations to come. And also it's like, how can I leave this earth with everything that I have within me? Right? It's like I'm leaving everything on the table, like I am used up to full capacity. And so whatever that looks like. So it's getting to more people, it's loving the people in my community and world even more, right? And also becoming my own best version of myself, because I also believe too, when we take responsibility and become the best, and we already are, it's like, and it's like, how can we unbecome and unlearn the things that are getting in the way? And then also like our highest capacity of like, how can we be our greatest impact? So, because when we are, right, we affect other people around us. So I really take that seriously, like my growth and development, my personal development, how I'm treating myself, even down to like, am I getting enough sleep? What am I eating? Like all these smaller decisions really add up. So it's like, yes, I want to, leave an impact and a legacy for the world, but it's like, okay, how am I being within each moment? Who am I being? Am I being, and I always like to say, what would my future self do in this moment? How would she proceed? What actions would she take? How would she show up? So I'm always asking that question, like every moment of every day. And yeah, there's always refinement, right? There's always, so it's, yes, it's leaving a legacy. It's getting, whatever I'm learning and experiencing that's can be beneficial to other people out into the world, but also like being my own, they say in coaching, being your own best client, right? Being your own best advocate before you like serve other people. So leaving a legacy for sure. And I know it's big and wide, but that can look different for everybody. It could be, doing an act of what is it? Acts of kindness, right? For someone else today. I mean, that literally even a small action like that heals and helps the world. It doesn't have to be, oh, being on a podcast with millions of listeners. Yes, that's amazing. And it could be the small things that also create a huge impact.
And I love it because I think of just like the ripple effect, sometimes we just always think we need the huge tidal wave to make a big change, but sometimes it's just those little ripples of just the little acts of kindness. And I love that too, of just like thinking of, just that check-in moment to show that we're all human. We all care about each other. And this is where too, it's like, it's about building relationships. And I think that's where it's just sometimes we get so busy on the big picture and we don't slow down and even focus on ourselves. Like I loved how you talked about too, your sleep, how important it is. And that's where even for me in this entrepreneur journey, I know I've mentioned this before, but even just I've had to book a workout as if it's a meeting, because if I don't hold myself accountable to it. I wouldn't miss a meeting. And so this is where I feel like there's so many ways of how we can do things, but for some reason we always avoid it when it's for ourselves sometimes. But it's those little things of like, what would someone else need right now? And we have to have that empathy for ourselves, but also to like thinking of the bigger picture and the long-term game. So I love that you're thinking of the long game of how it could affect you in the future. So what's even some thoughts that you have for the listeners to kind of leave at the end of this episode today that you want to inspire them with today, Kelly?
Yeah, I would say, so to piggyback on that, right, is sometimes slowing down, you slow down to speed up, right? So taking care of yourself first is so important. So slowing down to speed up and really taking care of yourself, your needs, your wants, your desires. And that could even be like, if you're not talking to people or not getting hugs in the day, like, you know what you need and you want, and it's acting upon that. And I would say the second thing is, if there's something, in your head, on your heart, and like you're just being pulled to, is to take action, like take one step forward today. Right. And I always like to say, do the most important thing first in the day so you get it out of the way. And so just even if it's like you sending that email, or I don't know, doing research, like doing something that is like for your highest purpose, highest good. and really also like be gentle on yourself, because there's a lot of noise out there with between social media, all the things going on. And in NLP, which is like a coaching technique, is like everyone has their own map of the world or how they see things, their perspective. And so some of us can get caught up. I know myself can get caught up in like different people's worlds and what I think I quote unquote should be, which shoulding is just shaming yourself, is what I should be doing. And it's like, nope, like tune in, Kelly. And sometimes it's like tuning in to tune out. So, and just being like, okay, what's true for me? And again, it goes back to like the self-compassion, forgiveness, and being like, I'm good in this moment, right? And all of that. So I think it's a general self-compassion for yourself, which it can get very loud and noisy with everything else going on.
Mm, I love that. And I love that we're leaving on that note of just being almost present and really intentional on things, but also giving yourself grace. And so thank you so much for joining me, Kelly. I'm so glad we were able to connect and we had a great conversation. And I feel like you meet people for a reason. So I'm so thankful, and also keep shining bright in the world because you're making some big ripples and waves out there. So thank you so much, Kelly.
Thanks, Dawn, for having me.